Hey, it's Anya. Welcome to the channel. In this episode, we'll go over the rankings on this KvK. We'll see where I'm at. We'll discuss policies. We'll also discuss mastery skills. You'll learn about my choices, and in general, we'll talk about my first impressions of this map. So, without further ado, thumbs up. Let's move on to the rankings. And let's see where I stand in terms of power. As you can see, I'm around 200th, so it's really good. In the previous KvK, I was 600th, so theoretically, there are fewer stronger players than me on this KvK. However, the map itself is also smaller. We have 4 camps, not 6 like on the previous map, so I'd say this place is relatively comparable. There are no merits, nothing interesting here. Maybe we should see the Alliance's effort. 3rd place, 16 billion, but we still have 500 million in vouchers from people who are migrating, so we're looking at something like 15 and a bit. I see some people have already farmed their merits. Very good, elixirs need to be purchased. And we're leading the leaderboard. Speaking of leading, we even won. I don't know how it happened, but we did. Brink of War 3% damage delta. Congratulations to our players here. Especially since, as I said, I prefer players to save their boosts for the Heights of Power, which you may or may not know. Heights of Power will take place on April 4th, so hold on to your boosts, because we'll soon get a new skin for the cavalry. Here we have this supposed skin. I don't know how true it is, and I don't know where this screenshot is from. However, this screenshot tells us we'll get 10% defense penetration for the cavalry. And of course, you'll still be able to buy one earlier skin. I think there'll be a mage skin available for purchase. We'll see. However, regarding the power high, here's the confirmed info. April 4th, that's when things will be happening. That's when things will definitely be happening. Will I be participating? No, I won't be participating. I'm saving it for the next one. Although I'll definitely buy one skin at the power high because those coins should be here somewhere. Yes, we have 6 sigils. And we'll use those sigils to get another skin. So much for my plans. Remember that the anniversary will also be around April 1st, so keep your 60,000 gems, because there will be an event for the artifact of your choice. Generally, we'll get 2 legendary artifacts, the minimum. You can get 3, you can get more, but importantly, we'll get 1 artifact of our choice, and I think that for 60,000 gems, it's a very worthwhile event, especially for players who spend a little less. But getting back to our KvK, let's take a look at the policies. As you can see, I'm slowly working my way through here. Of course, I chose stamina here. There's not much choice left, so we'll go through them one by one. I'll skip this part for now. As you can see, I'm already moving on. I think you can unlock all of them here, so we'll definitely unlock them all, but in due time, without putting too much pressure on these 2 policies. Here, as a standard rule, I recommend taking Infantry Contour and Mage Contour. Yes, the 2 most frequently used units. On this map, we'll be able to exchange prestige for elixirs, so if you have prestige in the daily merit shop, I recommend buying it as well. And here's the eternal question: what to take? Personally, I might even take the healing for resources. I'm not accumulating mana right now, so it's okay to spend it, but if I weren't taking this policy, I'd take policy number 1. Why am I taking policy number 1? Because even if there's no fighting, there are abyssal enemies, so 30,000 more elixirs per day compared to these elixirs makes a difference, right? Remember that these elixirs scale with villages, with certain percentages from policies, with behemoths, so there's definitely a bit more than 50,000 here. And I also like to take policy number 1. Policy number 2 is for players who don't play casually and want to save more elixirs. So, here we have a 100% cap, so we'll have more elixirs for combat. So, really, each of these policies is, I'd say, playable. Of course, this policy is super cool because we have a stamina bonus, so I'll think about what to take here, but I usually always choose either policy number 1 or policy number 3. Here, we might even take policy number 3. Moving on, we have a policy to choose from, so we can only choose one. So what should we choose here? We have a choice of 1 elixir for 1 dead unit, tier 4+, meaning tier 4 or tier 5, or we can gain 1 merit for 1 dead unit, tier 4 or tier 5, of course. Personally, I prefer elixirs because you can fight more, and sometimes this amount of troops is also useful. Sure, merits look very nice on the profile, but wars are won with units. To have more units, you need more elixirs. That's why my choice here is 1 elixir for 1 dead unit. Moving on, there are no choices here, or maybe there was another choice here. Yes, there was a choice here. Of course, we take into account production, the speed of elixir production, because I fight very often and participate in abyss battles, so every additional elixir is useful. If I weren't playing abyss battles, of course, the elixir capacity is also nice. Here we have 225%. When we combine this with the middle policy, we have 300% more, so we can definitely be ready to open the gates. However, I'm taking elixir production. The rest of the choices, of course, depend on how many units you have. When you have 3 million plus T4 units in your city, it's already worth taking the percentage policy. So, I think most players will definitely take the percentage elixir production speed. And I'll take that too. We're taking percentages here too. And here was another choice. Yes, here I'm taking the stockpile, meaning we save, right? We save here, and we take percentages here. And there are no further choices, so everyone will have to do the same. So, we've quickly discussed the policies. You've already seen my choices. Now let's move on to skills. Yes, we have a whole list of skills here. Honestly, I haven't looked at these skills yet, so this will be a live review. But what do we have here? Here we have minus 10% damage when building or destroying something, so generally useless. 10% more damage from hero skills and 20% march speed after the battle ends. This march speed after the battle ends is useless because it's after the battle ends, so when we get the report, so 10% more skill damage is definitely cool, but I think there will be some more interesting skills here. This skill is definitely cool. I think this skill is better than Krag's. Here we have 15% more defense and 10% less skill damage. Well, that's pretty cool. Moving on, we have Alvinen's skill, which is useless. You don't take that skill either. Here we have Alistair's skill. 10% HP and 10% physical attack. That's definitely cool. For example, for infantry. I think it's cool for now. For now, I'd say we have 2 playable skills. Let's move on. The Legion of Archers gains 15% more physical attack and 10% more march speed. This is a really cool ability for ranged players. So if you're an archer, if you're a masochist, this ability is really great. Here we have 15% more than hero abilities. This is also great for mages, for example. I think it'll be great for cavalry too. Welland's ability, what do we have here? 15% more skill damage, so basically the same thing, except we also have an additional 20% march speed. Now that's a really cool ability, right? This is a really good ability. Then we have Nico's ability, which unfortunately gives archers 20% more physical attack and 10% more defense. So I think this ability will be better than Guanwen's, so that ability is also cool. Nikki's ability here has 20% more physical attack and 10% more march speed. Well, it's average, but definitely playable. The open field ability, We have 15% more attack and 15% damage reduction from hero abilities, is already a really strong ability. It's a really cool ability, and I think it could definitely be better than, for example, Guanwen's ability for ranged characters. Yes, sure, we have march speed here, but in a sea of mages, in a sea of cavalry, in a sea of everything, less damage from heroes is a really cool bonus. Here we have a very nice bonus for infantry. 20% HP plus 7% more legion capacity. Well, that's a super cool ability for infantry, and overall, I think this ability is cool for everyone. So I'd say this ability is S tier. Aetius ability. We have a 30% chance to gain extra rage, so more rage, more frequent damage, a super cool ability for mages. Garwood's ability, what do we have here? 75% chance to gain 30% physical delta damage for 5 seconds when healed. Well, I think it's for Kuma, actually, more for Lean for his rally skill. It should work well. It should work really well. Next up is Sindrian's rally skill, 10% attack and 5% defense penetration. So bonuses, probably not many people will use it. Next up is Fraggar. In open play, we get 15% more damage from normal attacks and an additional 15% defense. This is a really cool skill for archers. There are quite a few skills for archers, so who knows, maybe they'll be of some use here. Another skill for garrison, 10% HP and 10% enemy attack negation. Of course, we have a 20% chance for this for 3 seconds, so I'd say it's also average. The Skogul ability is really cool, because even the first level of this ability is enough to have a charge ability to quickly run with legions of infantry, and I think you can surprise many enemies with it, so even this ability could be interesting for Lacan. We'll see, right? Very tactical. This is a really tactical ability. The next ability is Tohara. Here we have 30% more damage than hero abilities, but in return we deal 5% less damage from normal attacks. Regardless, I think it's a really powerful ability. And the last ability is Bertrand's. 15% more attack, 15% more defense for 3 seconds when you don't get hit with normal attacks. That's also a very cool ability. Here we have 30% more stats, but you can't get hit with normal attacks. Well, I'd honestly say that more interesting skills like these two skills for mages, are definitely cool. I think it could mix up Skogul a bit. For marksmen, we have Fraggar, we have Nico, we even have Guanwen, who's cool. For infantry, and for everyone in general, I think a very powerful skill is the Indus skill, and everyone will play it somewhere in their legion. This skill is also cool. I'd even say it's cool for infantry. Nika, of course, for infantry, can be useful if someone wants slightly faster infantry, but I think there are definitely more interesting skills here. Welland's skill is definitely interesting for mages as well. And that's pretty much it for the more interesting skills, right? You can have 5 skills here. Yes, that's how it is. I don't think there's anything special. No, there's nothing special. And honestly, I think the best skill will be the Indus skill. As for fellowship, well, you can have 5,000 points per day, considering the entire group's levels, so after 3 days you should be at level 2. And that's where you level up and get further bonuses. So, from day 1, you should be on a team. You should have 5,000 points so you don't get left behind. Of course, later in the game, you'll be able to trade legions. Who will these merits be awarded to? I think they're for you, not for the person borrowing the legion. But here's how it works. We take out a Lil, and we can control that Lil. And importantly, the borrowed legion doesn't come from your city, but from the city of someone in your party. So I think the second level is really important. At level 3, we can buy things for someone in the shop with merits, using our own merits, of course. Another thing is more attack when we're within range of someone in our fellowship. That's also cool. We get 10% more merit with borrowed legions. The captain can teleport legions. There's an 8-hour cooldown. Well, I think this map is quite small, so we probably won't use it that often. Another attack for legions that are near our fellowship legions. And even more legion rentals at level 15. So that's how it goes. Honestly, I'm not a fan of fellowships, but I think this map is pretty cool, right? So, it's something for something. Overall, the map itself is small, so you won't have to spend who knows how long building somewhere. Everyone has access to a dragon, so if you have some balanced KvKs and good matchmaking, you can have a really cool KvK, right? Although, as I said, I don't really like this system of mastery skills and fellowship. I think there are many more interesting options, but the map is definitely cool. So, we'll see what the monument brings. We'll see what zones 2 and 3 bring, and of course, what Dragon Zone brings. So if it works out, there will be a few streams. If you want to be notified about these streams, ring the bell. Maybe this system will work on YouTube, and I'll say goodbye to you here. You know what to do. Take care.